Hello, I'm Berni Xiong, Life Spark with Berni Xiong LLC at bernixiong.com. Today is Friday, April 8th, 2011, and this is episode 17 of Get a Life Spark. Thank you everybody for your patience. There was a delay in the video blog being published this week, but here we are. Finally, it's up and running. Alright, so as you all know, if you've been following over the past 5 weeks, we closed out the final step to help you bridge that gap between where you are and where you want to be in your life, career, or relationship. So last week you should have been able to solidify all those different things that needed to be changed, modified, added, eliminated in your life so that you can achieve greater success in your goals and objectives. Again, if you need further assistance or additional help with that, you know where to reach me, either at bernixiong.com or give my line a call at 262-LAUNCH-2. Remember, all first consultations are always free to you. All right, this week's topic of discussion, leadership. And it only made sense. It's been a timely and relevant topic. The other week I was reading an article in the Harvard Business Review. It was called The End of the Middle Manager. And I shared that article with everybody in my social media networks. And I received amazing feedback from everybody. Everything from, we need to get rid of the middle managers, to, middle managers will always be needed, even though I don't think they're always effective. And then it became a debate about management versus leadership, and that managers aren't always good leaders, and that managers need to hone their skills as leaders in order for them to be more effective, so that they don't have their positions eliminated. Basically, the gist of the article, though, was talking about how advances in technology has really helped to mechanize systems for monitoring employee progress. Therefore, that would potentially eliminate the need for a human body to manage employees in that tier. So I really wanted to expand that discussion further with all of you, because I thought it was such an amazing conversation. It went from the end of the middle manager to leaders versus managers to, is a leader born with the leadership skills? Can it be honed over time, or is it a combination of both? And so the conversation we're going to have today is a little bit of all three, and I want you to check out the written blog that accompanies this video, because I really want you to chime in and give me your feedback on that. This is how you can do it. Number one, you can look on the right side of the pane of bernixiong.com, and you'll see a little box, and it's a LinkedIn poll that I created, and you can click right there and vote. Yes, I believe leadership is nature. Yes, I believe it is honed. Or yes, I believe it's a combination of the two. So there are 3 different options. And underneath that, you can actually click to see what the results are as we speak. It's a live poll. And as we speak today, I checked, and 70% said that it's both nature and nurture. I also voted that it is both as well, and I'll tell you why in just a bit. The other interesting part about this discussion that I had with these people in my social media channels is we also talked about why managers are ineffective and what it is that's wrong with them, and why they can't be better at what they do. Why can't they be better leaders? And I got a lot of amazing feedback that seemed to, pretty much echo each other in some ways. But basically it was saying that a lot of these managers are not necessarily trained to be good leaders. And, when you hear trained to be leaders, that's not really, it doesn't sound really right either, because leadership, to most people's point, and I think in my opinion as well, I believe that leadership is something that you do have a natural ability to do, but at the same time you hone skills over time, and that there are some managers out in the world that haven't been given maybe the right instruction, the right coaching or mentoring, or even the right education to help them to be more effective leaders. And so they end up getting in this authoritative mode where they're micromanaging and handling people in a way that isn't empowering. And again, this is just a generalization. I'm not saying that all mid-level managers are like this. I believe that the people who've given me the feedback when I shared this article, are also not saying that. But it sounds like for many of these people, in my own experience, that there are a lot of mid-level managers not given the proper education and resources to be more effective in leading people. And so since I found that to be the majority of the feedback that I heard from everybody, and again, even in my own experience, I decided to do a Google search and define leader and define manager. It's something that I think we take for granted. We're so used to these words that it just becomes second nature to us. Whatever it is in our mind that we define these words to be and what we believe these types of roles to be, we've already created that in our heads without even thinking about the actual definition. So here are the definitions, just to kind of shed some light on the difference between a leader and a manager. So a leader is defined as a person or thing that guides, conducts, and leads. Okay, and a manager is a person who has control of a business or part of a business or a division of an organization. So immediately, and I'm sure you heard the words too, immediately I went right to manager, the definition, and I saw the word control, so I underlined it. You do not see that word in in the definition of leader, and I absolutely believe that that is the case. What do you think about when you think about a leader versus a manager? And then I want you to think about who are some figures in history or even currently in real time who really exude a certain level of leadership. The one person who always comes to mind is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I always think about him. I mean, let's take him for example, okay? I'm sure there was a certain level of management that he did as his movement started to become very big, and he had a close entourage of people around him really supporting him. But he truly exemplified a leader in so many ways. Number one, he was just naturally amazing at conducting and leading and empowering people. But number two, he didn't ask to be put in that role. He just was naturally so good at it that people were begging him to lead. People were following his lead automatically. So he wasn't in any place where he was actually controlling people of his own, to stroke his own ego or anything. It was just a matter of believing in what he believed in, buying into it. Others believed in what he believed in, saw his passion and bought into it as well, and really wanted to follow his lead. And so when I think about that, I just think that, somebody like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who had such amazing influence and impact and didn't even ask for it. In fact, it was just so natural for him to move into that role and people gravitate towards him the way he did. That is something intangible. That's something unspoken. And to me, a leader has a very difficult time holding up to something like that. So in my opinion, you definitely have to have a certain level of innate qualities and ability to empower and construct, excuse me, and conduct and instruct people like that to that degree. Now, when I think about management, there are a lot of metrics that you must follow, and there are certain objectives even in your role as a manager to achieve and satisfy. Therefore, your whole I guess the whole point of being a manager really is to do your job. And there isn't always passion associated with that. There isn't always a certain level of humanitarianism associated with that, because it's more of a constructed role that helps you to achieve a certain task. So to try to use the words leadership and management or leader and manager interchangeably, I believe is wrong. And though leaders can be managers and managers can be leaders, they aren't necessarily the same. Okay. Then the other thing I wanted to talk about was to really have you take an inventory and take a look at your own qualities and your own characteristics. if you're somebody who's been questioning yourself for a very long time, whether you can be a leader or whether you are a leader or whether you want to be a leader and you just don't know how to, I want you to not be discouraged. I'll tell you why. I have a quick little story here. I am the baby of 5 children in my family. My oldest sibling is 11 years older than me. I was coddled. I was spoiled. I lived a sheltered life. Everybody was afraid I'd either get kidnapped or lost or hurt. And so I went through life really afraid of the world. Second-guessed myself a lot, afraid to express my opinions. Though I always kind of had my own opinions inside my head and, inside my heart, I often second-guessed myself and didn't come out and say it because for whatever reason, I just believed my opinion wasn't of value. I don't know what I'm talking about. Everybody else knows what they're talking about. They're all older and smarter and wiser. Therefore, I'm just going to follow their lead. And so for the longest time in my life, I felt like a follower. And I was a follower, I have to admit. But there was always this burning flame inside of me ever since I was a little kid. Times when I would question something in my head, never say it out loud. If a teacher said something that I disagreed with, if there was a classmate who said or did something that, made me question what they were saying or doing, there were many things I wanted to improve. I liked to challenge a lot of things. But again, I never always voiced it because I did have a lot of insecurity and self-consciousness as a kid. But as I grew into, my own womanhood and reached a certain level of consciousness and maturity, I found that I couldn't shut up. I couldn't get myself to stop having an opinion. I couldn't get myself to stop challenging. And I couldn't get myself to stop wanting to improve things. And so that was the innate qualities in me as a leader that I've known I've always had. I've always felt that burning flame inside of my gut. But I had to hone those skills over time through resources that I modeled after, mentors and amazing people who guided me as they saw me fumbling and wanted to help me to improve. And so back to my poll on LinkedIn about whether a leader can be born, whether skills need to be honed or whether it can be a little bit of both nature and nurture. I am living evidence that it is nature and nurture. In my own experience, because I wanted it badly enough. I wanted to be of influence and make an impact badly enough that I learned, how to improve myself so that I could start exuding qualities of a leader. And then I just did it. And then, that was the best advice one of my old managers, / a wonderful leader, had shared with me. He's like, you just got to do it, Bernie. He's like, don't second guess yourself. Don't worry about it. Just do it. And then when you just do it, it becomes repetitious, it becomes second nature, and then boom, there you are. That's you. Just do it. So, words of advice for you. Just do it. Take inventory of your qualities that you already have. Hone those skills. And in addition to that, improve areas that you may need to work on to really help you to get to where you want to be. But at the end of the day, all you got to do is just do it. Just do it, just do it, just do it. Create a pattern by repeating. It becomes habitual, and then before you know it, there you are. All right. Please chime in. I really want you to be part of the dialogue. Go to my website, bernixiong.com. Vote on the LinkedIn poll on the right pane. Also, leave your comment and tell me what you think about. I would love for you to elaborate on this topic about nature versus nurture for leaders, as well as what you believe the difference between a leader and a manager is. Thank you all so much. Next week, we are going to be talking about letting go. All of you have been begging me and asking me, you keep telling me to just do it, Bernie. How do I learn to let go? How do I learn to stop having resentment and regret? And so next week, we're going to talk about letting go. I've got some actual steps for you that you can take and a little activity. It's really fun. I did it myself in my own life, and it was amazing. All right, guys, thank you so much again for chiming in. We will see you next week on Monday on Get a Life Spark, episode 18. Bye-bye now.